Hey, hi. I'm here on a beautiful, beautiful, busy spring day at Duquesne University to tell you a little bit about my exhibition here that is called The Countless Laughter of the Ocean, Photographs of Salt and Plastic that use 19th century processes. So I want to start by looking at this photograph here. Hi. This one. All right. Okay. So this is a print. This is a print from a turn of the century publication from the Smithsonian Institution. Okay. So this is a page from an old book that was published by the Smithsonian. That illustrated an article that was a transcript of a presentation by William Herschel that was about the state of the art of color photography at that time, at the turn of the century, which at that moment was not fantastic. They were trying really hard they're trying with a number of different methods to try to achieve naturalistic color, and things weren't going. The images were not very lifelike. They were very time intensive. They were very costly, so they weren't going great. But this was one of the examples that came to illustrate that. Now, William Herschel was the son of John Herschel, who was really instrumental in the early years of photography. And I'm walking you over here to see some cyanotypes. John Herschel, to people who are fans of early photography, John Herschel is familiar as the inventor of the cyanotype process. His contributions to photography were many. He gave us the word photography. He gave us the words for positive and negative. He gave us the hypofix solution, which made it possible to achieve the earliest process, the earliest paper-based photography process, which was the salt print process or the calotype process. These over here are salt prints, and we'll get to those in a minute. But Herschel, okay, so John Herschel, in his interest in early photography, came from his background in astronomy because his father was a legendary astronomer whose many achievements included the discovery of infrared light. So John Herschel wanted to use chemistry and technology to be able to record wavelengths of light beyond the human visible spectrum. It's ultraviolet light that turned out to be the key for recording images. Herschel called the wavelengths of light that you could get images from, he called them actinic light. And ultraviolet light, most of it is not visible to human beings through our rods and cones, although we can perceive some of it. So with Herschel, he didn't consider himself a photographer. He was an innovator and contributor to the discoveries in early photography, a very foundational figure. But what he was really after was the ability to use technology and chemistry to extend human vision. So I photograph things that appear and disappear, things that are difficult for us to see, things that we try to make disappear that won't disappear, and things that disappear when we're trying to hang on to them. And that's part of why I photograph salt and plastics. I'm also interested in their roles in the medium of photography and its rich history. So these are cyanotypes of single-use plastic objects that are, well, I know these are still out there in the world because they're still in my house, but most of the plastics that we use on a daily basis, they're going to be out there in the world for a very, very long time. And I think most of us are aware of that these days. They say that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. So, these plastics, they're there to serve us, to make our lives easier, better, more convenient, and we take them. It's easy to take them for granted, and to not have to see the impact that our actions as a whole have on the planet, because each one of us is so small and here for such a brief period of time. So these are salt prints. The salt printing process is the print half of the calotype process, which is the first patented positive-negative process in photography, patented by William Henry Fox Talbot, but John Herschel was instrumental in the chemistry that made it possible. And these are photographs of contact lenses. They're ostensibly disposable contact lenses. You're not supposed to use them for very long, and once you're done with them, there's no point in keeping them around. But plastics, boy, our entanglements with plastics on a daily basis are so commonplace and so everywhere that it's hard to notice them, hard to see them. but it's also hard to see without them, so to speak. I mean, without the use of contact lenses, we wouldn't have the extended vision that we just sort of take for granted as our vision now. So, plastics extend what we are in the world and what we can do. So these are salt prints of contact lenses. I also, in this show, I'm going to swing around to the side here, I have a few photographs of Invisalign trays, which these Invisalign trays end up being sort of a strange portrait of an individual, of the inside of their mouth. But yeah, the Invisalign trays also don't really have much use after you've used them either, but as plastics, they continue to be there in the world. So these pictures over here, these color ones, this is a process that I've been using for the past year or so, or the color part is something I've been doing for the past year or so. I was interested in ways to bring salt and plastic into the same visual field. So I started photographing salt crystals using polarized light that was aimed through layers of single-use plastics. That's where the colors in these photographs come from. So, and they sort of, bounce around and refract through the salt crystals too, because they act as prisms that further refract the light. So that's where these photographs come from. These are macro photographs of salt crystals illuminated by single-use plastics and polarized light. The way that these particular ones are printed, I use a color separation process that prints the color using standard inkjet prints, just a specific kind, on cotton rag paper, and then on top there's a layer, the sort of the black layer is printed in Van Dyke brown print process, which is another of Herschel's inventions. So the finished print uses a combination of contemporary and 19th century. So back to our picture over here, the title, "The Countless Laughter of the Ocean," might sound a little bit arch, a little Victorian, but the term, the phrase comes in when Herschel is attempting to account for the failures of his fellow scientists and artists to succeed in getting naturalistic color, and he describes them in that sort of very Victorian arch literary kind of a way, describes in very flowery language, that they have to take their failures and their efforts, their unsuccessful efforts to learn from nature. They have to take them lightly, as it were, by facing the countless laughter of the ocean's waves upon which God's gift of light dances and entrances us. He's using that phrase with a little bit of irony and a little bit of wit, because the Victorians would have been familiar with it as a quote from Aeschylus, quoting Prometheus, calling upon all of the elements to witness the torture that he suffers at the hands of the gods. So that is a quick walkthrough of the countless laughter of the ocean. Oh, these paintings, by the way, these are speed paintings that were done about a year ago at the same time as I was doing a cyanotype workshop here in this very space. So people think of paintings as things that take a longer time to do than photographs, but I can vouch for that not really being necessarily the truth. So anyways, thank you for joining me, and I guess that'll be all. Hello, hi, thanks for coming. See ya.